slick back kind of haircut with a little bit of a middle part and some really sick flow. One of the things that can be really intimidating about these long haircuts is just the amount of hair. To combat this, the first thing we're going to do is section out the top. So we're going to start with a section right along the parietal ridge, and we're going to basically make a box right at the very top here, across the back and on each side, and just get that whole top section out of the way. That's going to make things a lot easier for us going on. The next part that we're going to work on is just doing this bit on the sides, right? We're going to work on basically the sides, kind of moving into the back, and then work on the top and blending that in, and then creating those really nice kind of bangs. So to do those sections on the sides, we're going to do diagonal sections, working right along there. And we're going to basically just work in nice small sections, about a comb's width, all the way back along the head. And we're going to be pulling these things out in a graduated style. So that means we're going to have a little bit of an angle from the head. Think fades, think those blowout tapers, right? Those are very graduated. More square of a haircut is going to be a little more straight to the head. So you're going to end up with a really nice flat section. Those are those kind of really high fades. You want to do those square sides. If you want to get that boxy cut, it's going to be more of that square. And then the last thing we're going to be talking about is rounded, which is going to be following the shape of the head. Right? These are the three things we'll be going over throughout this haircut. Now, when you're doing these sides, you want to have a little bit of a graduated look. So, to do that, let's pretend this is our side of the head right here from the front. There's a little face. So we're going to have an angle, something like that, where it's longer at the top and shorter at the bottom. Kind of similar to those blowout tapers, those fades, right? Longer at the top, shorter at the bottom. Real simple. And we're going to pull it out nice and square, right from our section here, and in the angle that we do from the side. So it's going to be angled here, pulled out straight from the section, and then we're going to tip our fingers away from the head to leave a little bit more length right at the very top. And that's it. And you're just going to move right along the sides, pulling a little bit of your previous section in with the section you're working on, and making your way back. Now, in the back, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to move. We're going to get rid of this real quick. We're going to pretend this is now the back of the head. What is your back in? So this is the back of the head, and we've come along this way with our sections, and we're going to cross over the middle. It's going to seem a little weird, but we're going to cross over the middle, so that way when we do the same on the other side, this same thing, just on the other side of the head, you're going to end up with these crosses. And you'll see in the video that I'm about to play for you, you start to, as you're doing that second side, you start to run out of hair to cut. And it just really seamlessly blends right in. And that's it, and we'll get right into cutting the sides. Alright, this is voiceover Connor here, and we're going to start by just sectioning out the top. And you can see that he's pretty soaked down, he's kind of dripping off the front. We want to make sure that we get these sections nice and clean, and keeping the hair nice and wet is going to be the easiest way to get that done. Parting right along the parietal ridge there, do the same on the other side here, combing everything away from our section, keep it nice and clean, pin everything up so we can just focus on the sides. We don't get any of that stuff in our way. And you can go right across the back here, get that nice clean section in the back. Pin everything right up, nice and clean. We got everything combed straight down right now, and we're going to comb it kind of backwards just so we can get an idea of what it's going to start to look like as we're getting closer to the end here. And I'm going to start with my diagonal section. Nice comb width, doesn't need to be too big. We're going to comb everything else out of the way, and you can pin that up. I don't usually do that on the sides, but I'm going to start by just pulling everything out and away. Nice and straight from the section. and we're giving it a little bit of an angle, and you can see it a little better from this side. It's a nice angle from the side of the head, getting that graduated style. And we'll just give this a nice trim. The length is kind of arbitrary. You can make this shorter, you can make it longer depending on the style that you want and how much your client wants on the side of their head. We're going to resection here so that way I don't cut my fingers off. And you can see those nice layers are already starting to kind of show up a little bit. Start with our next section. Nice comb width with keeping a little bit of that previous section in there. We're going to comb everything right up. Find my guide in there. You can sort of see it through my fingers, and we're over directing the front section a little bit over the back using what's called a traveling guide. This is going to basically just keep the length kind of similar throughout the whole thing. Now, if you were wanting to leave it longer in the back, or if you wanted to leave it shorter in the back, you would maybe not over direct or over direct a little bit more. But just going to keep on moving on here. Nice comb width section. We'll pull everything straight out from the head. There it is, comb width. And you can see, can't really see my guide, so I'm going to push it all out of the way. And there's my guide, nice and clean. And that's what we're looking for. Get that last little bit with a second comb here so I don't cut my fingers off. And that's pretty much it. We're going to move a little bit and we'll start to speed it up here just so we can fly through this. This is all pretty much the same thing over and over again. Now, as we get into the back here, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to kind of follow the shape of the head. And you'll start to see, I'll kind of dip my fingers in a little bit near the bottom. Here's a little better view of it. Kind of tightening in at the bottom, and this is going to prevent those kind of flyaways, changing the shape of the client's silhouette. It's just going to keep it a little bit neater, a little bit cleaner of a look. Now, if you wanted to have those wings out the back, you could definitely leave that longer at the bottom, but I like to keep it tight. And then this here, we're just doing a little bit of a perimeter cut, just getting those little bits, just so that it's a little cleaner in the full shape. Now, moving on to the other side here, we're going to start by just pulling everything out, and I'm going to start with a cut that I know is going to be a little too long. And that's okay. So you'll see in a sec, I'm going to pull all this right out and check the length with the other side. So you'll see we'll turn them right to the front, and we'll grab pieces from the same spot on the head and check our lengths. And this side's a little bit too long still, so we'll just take another 1/4 inch or so off of this just to make sure we got a nice length. Because this length is what's going to decide the rest of this side, and it's going to take us into the back here. And we'll speed this all up for you too. We know we've already seen all this, but just making sure to keep those sections nice and clean, making sure that, we're staying in line with our section and keeping that graduated shape on the sides and working our way towards the back here. Now, as we get into the back here, you'll start to notice that I'm actually cutting less and less off. All right, now we're just going to do a quick little perimeter cut. We'll comb it all out to see what we look like, and then that's it for the sides and back. All right, now that we've cut the sides, now it's time to cut the top. So we're going to take out those sections that we had in there before. We're still going to work in this general area. So we're going to do what I like to call a mohawk section. Now this is going to work for most every haircut. Doing this mohawk section the way that we do it, we're going to do a slight little change up to make this look really nice. So mohawk section is going to be just this nice, straight, about comb wide section right in the middle. And we're going to pull a little bit of that back in, and you'll see that in the video when we do it. And what we're going to do is basically connect that from the back and use that as our length going up. So our section out the back comes out a little something like that, more or less. Now we've got the top in here. And what we're going to do from the top is we want all this length in the front to create those really nice face framing bangs, but we got to connect it to the length of the sides and the back. So we're going to make a round shape, right? Kind of like what I was saying earlier. And we're going to have a nice graduated shape towards the front, so it gets longer as we move forwards. So that mohawk shape is going to connect from the back all the way up to the top. We're going to flatten out a little bit, And then we're gonna graduate and leave all that length in the front. And you'll see in the video, I don't take barely anything off that front there, because we wanna leave all this length up here. So that way we can mess with it. Now, after that, we're just gonna work down each side of that mohawk, right? Pulling a little bit of that mohawk in to do that, and we're just gonna pull everything up square. So, let me get a little clearer here, so we can add a new face.
Yeah,
a nice quick face here. Boom. Boom. That looks great. Now, our section is going to look a little something like this. And that's the cut we want to make. We're going to end up, when we pull this section up, we'll see something like this. And we call that our field goal from each side. Draw the other side in here too. So you can see it's kind of a field goal. We like to pull that up, cut it straight across. Nice and level with the floor, so that we get a nice square shape. We end up with something like that. And we're just going to slowly work our way back, connecting and using the guide from the mohawk to tell us our lengths. A little different from the sides, where we kept our previous section to help us define our length. We're going to use the mohawk section as our guide this time, because remember, this stuff is getting shorter as it comes through here. So we want to make sure that that's nice. Now, once we get to the back of the top, we're going to get to right behind the ear. You'll see this in the video. I'm going to section all that off. So I've just got this little corner of the top, and then all this stuff in the front can all be pushed out of the way. And I'm basically going to round cut, kind of like we did in the back here, everything along this corner, right? And you'll see in the video I do a little bit kind of safer cuts, but you'll get that nice round shape, and you'll have this really, really nice blend between the top and the back. And we want to leave this separate from the front of the side, or of the top, so that way we can keep those really nice bangs. We can get some really cool flow on them. Our next step is going to basically just be pull everything from this side over. We're going to over direct it all the way off to the side, and we'll end up with something crazy long here and nice and short here. And all I'm going to do is draw a line from this point right here to this point right here, right in the bangs. And I'm going to connect them with a nice straight line, trying to leave as much there as I can. And I'll show you in the video, I do a little bit of kind of pulling it out this way and making sure this length is okay. That's kind of an extra step. But then we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side, right? Pulling up on this side, grabbing some from the mohawk section, and just working the way back until you get to behind the ear. We cut all this down with that round section, pulling it all straight from the head, just like that. And this is what we like to call a pie section. Because when you section it out, you're going to end up with little pie slices as you round that. And then you're going to do the same thing on that side as you did on this side. You're going to bring all this right out. You're going to end up with real short right here, real long back here. You're just going to connect this point to this point. A nice straight line. And you're going to see I'm going to angle my fingers way out, so that way we can preserve all that length towards the front. And that's it, that's the top. Alright, so we've pulled everything off from those clips, and we're going to start with our mohawk section. We'll start a little on the left here, comb everything over, get those nice clean sections, and we're left with a nice little mohawk shaped section, about comb width, combing everything off to the side. I'm gonna actually grab this and pin it up so that way we don't have to mess with it and we don't worry about getting any of the stuff we don't want in our comb when we're cutting this top. And those nice combs in there. And now we're gonna turn off to the side so we can get a little bit better of a view of this perimeter. And we're gonna start right at the back here, right at the apex of the head, or right in the crown area, excuse me. And we're gonna get a nice round shape out of it. You can see I'm pulling it right off the head from that angle. And I'm gonna start a little bit more square just to be a little safe. I'm gonna end up taking that off a little bit more later. And we're gonna start that graduation already. You can see we're already keeping more length towards the front as we're moving forward. And excuse me for this terrible angle. You can't really see my fingers, but I'll back up a little bit and show you in a second here. And we're basically taking nothing off the top here. We're gonna have that nice graduated shape there, get into that round shape more towards the back. There we go, now we can see. So we've got this nice long length in the front, and you can see I'm actually gonna take a little bit more off of this to get more of that graduated shape. Work it all the way to the back, make sure it blends nice, and boom. And we're gonna take down this side, put that on the wrist there. We're gonna need it again in a second. And we're gonna start by pulling up the front and going with that nice square cut. So you can see I'm not dipping down to follow the shape of the head, I'm going nice and parallel with the ground. And that's gonna leave a little bit more length on the left side there, but that's kind of what we want. We wanna leave a little bit more there so we can play with it a little bit later. And now it's gonna get to the point where it's a little harder to cut, so a little harder to grab, so we're gonna comb everything right over to the side. And come to the side here, and we're gonna find the ear here. So we're gonna pull this stuff out of the way so I can find it. Right in there, yes, thank you for pointing. And put my finger in there, bring my comb right to my finger, and comb everything right over. And then I should have clipped that up a little bit earlier while I was already over there, and this is gonna look like a real ugly section right here. That's pretty nasty, but it'll work for what we got. And now we're gonna start by doing that round cut on the back. I'm gonna do a little bit safer here. You can see I'm leaving a little bit more length towards the top there, but we're gonna end up taking that off right here. And this is just gonna blend that back into the sides really nicely so we get a nice blend. We don't have any weird overhang stuff going on. Getting that nice round shape. This is also going to prevent us having a lot of weight up in the back. There's a lot of hair that's going to be moving back there with this kind of slick back look. So we want to make sure it's not too heavy. You can see nice and clean there. I'm going to take that clip back out, put it back on the wrist. Going to need it again in a little bit. And we're going to comb everything on this side straight out. We're going to adjust them a little bit so we can see a little better. We're going to comb everything on this top side straight out. We're going to give it a little bit of an elevation so we just have the stuff from the top. And you can see all that crazy length. We're going to tip our fingers and chop it all off. Doesn't need to be there. And we're going to point right down towards the front. You can see less and less to cut off as we get towards the front. Yeah, that nice angle. And it's just going to make that look a little bit nicer. Now I'm going to give this one last little cut just to make sure it's nice and even. Like I said before, a little unnecessary, but I kind of like it. And you can see it all kind of flows back, and when that's pushed back, it's going to be nice and clean. But then you can let it fall forward and get those nice bangs. Now as we move into the other side here, we're going to speed this up a little bit. It's the same thing as the other side, going right up, trimming that up, nice and square. A little awkward to cut, so we're going to find the ear, split it, pin it, move on. Get that nice round shape, and then we'll do those bangs, and we'll brush everything right back. Now I'm going to give it a little bit of a middle part just so we can start to see what our final style is going to look like, and we'll get right into the styling here. So we're going to use this natural matte paste that we've got. It's a Saving Face brand. We're going to get it all in there while it's soaking wet. And we're going to take our blow dryer on pretty high heat, high intensity with that concentrator. It's going to help us just really make sure we can focus on the parts that we want. And we've got our vent brush, which we can just roll back That's how we want our style to be, just rolled back, kind of slicked back, and making sure we get everything nice and dry. And putting in that product early is going to help us keep some structure in the hair while we're styling this. You can see I'm brushing it down in the back and back in the front. We're going to throw a little bit more in there to tame those crazy sideburns, and we'll give it one last little comb and some fiddling with our fingers here just to make sure it's all nice and clean and how we want it. And that's it, guys. That's the slick back, longer hairstyle, and that's going to be pretty good for just about whatever you need.